Hey guys, Raykin here, and today I'm going to talk about how to develop mastery in any domain. So throughout history, people have looked at those with great skill as somehow ordained with special abilities that they themselves don't have. They've coined them as talented. Although talent is a factor, it's responsible for far less than you might think. So in today's world of instant gratification, more than ever, people want things now, and they don't take the time to actually develop the skills and master something. What really is talent, though? Talent is actually a pretty small disposition in someone's ability to do a task a little better than other people at the beginning. Encouragement by others will reinforce the belief that they're actually proficient at the task. And through that encouragement, people are motivated to spend more time developing the task until it becomes mastery. Here's a hard pill to swallow. Oftentimes when we call somebody talented, we're actually saving the ego from acknowledging that we didn't put that effort in ourselves and we didn't take the responsibility, or we were too lazy to really put in the kind of effort that it takes to become masterful at a particular skill. So in the next few minutes, I'm actually going to go over what it takes to develop mastery, and I'll give you a few tips and some roadblocks to avoid. All right, so the first step is to dream. And that means to basically suspend reality, suspend what you think was possible for you before, and design in your mind what it is that you really want to do and how you want to be and what skill you want to develop. You want to basically set the goal and you want to understand what it is that you're striving for. So for example, as a guitar player, I have an idea of like what I want my alternate picking to sound like, what I want my sweep picking to sound like, and I want to model certain players in certain regard and design my technique around that. I want to have a vision of it. The more clear the goal, the more likely we're actually going to reach it. The next aspect is that we make a firm commitment to making this a reality for us and taking this seriously and perhaps putting this at the center of our lives. There's not much more meaningful than really becoming a master at something. And it's a really good idea for your career or for your future to actually spend the time to be world class at one thing. Along the path, you're going to realize that focusing solely on one thing is actually not going to be enough, and you're going to have to master a peripheral aspect of what you do. For example, here on YouTube, it's not enough for me to just be a proficient player. I also need to know how to record video properly and how to edit it, light it, and all those things. I need to know how to record audio well, how to make a good guitar tone, how to mix. In order to even make this video, I need to learn how to effectively communicate. And another aspect is marketing, like understanding how to make video titles and tags and all that kind of stuff. And to varying degrees, all of these aspects matter. And until I can make enough money from this YouTube channel, I'm gonna have to do all that stuff myself. So that said, if this is insightful for you guys, go ahead and like this video and share it with your friends who need to really hear this message. The next tip is to pivot when necessary. So I've read a few books on startups, and it was very insightful for me how at the beginning entrepreneurs will start a business and have a concept and go forth with it. And then if they realize something isn't working, they're getting feedback from their customers and from each other, and then they would pivot to something else and see if that would work. Sometimes these businesses would even pivot 180 degrees and start making something completely different just to stay in motion and just throw things at the wall and see what sticks. The key to this is that you actually just need to take cues from your results. So you can't change what you're not tracking. So always track, always measure how much time you're putting into something, what you've done, how it's worked, and adjust along the way. The caveat here is that you really need to give it an honest shot and have a minimum period of time that you put into something before you decide that it doesn't work. I have several friends who just pivot and pivot and pivot and never quite develop any mastery because they're just too busy changing what they do. When going through a plateau, if you have any previous mastery experience, use that as a reference to remind yourself that even when things just aren't advancing, that eventually you might just take a big leap. The next aspect I want to discuss is having a sense of urgency. If what you're trying to develop is meant to actually put food on the table eventually, you don't want to get there at a snail pace. You want to use something called compound focus. And that basically means that you've spent so much time on something that you're in such a deep state of flow that you get so much done in a small period of time. So give yourself the chance to do that and spend an inordinate amount of time on one thing. There is another caveat here though. If you spend too much time developing one thing and then start to neglect important areas of your life, then that can have diminishing returns for you. I am advocating against balance here, but I want to say that you need to maintain at least the minimum level of interaction in your relationships to maintain them. And you also need to maintain your health and spend a few hours in the gym a week or whatever it takes to keep yourself from burning the candle at both ends, basically. You don't want to get to mastery having alienated those closest to you and suffering from all kinds of health problems. So just make sure you take care of what's important, at least on a minimum level, but spend most of your time mastering. So my last bit on this is sacrifice. What are you willing to give up for the attainment of your mastery? In the short term, you might give up hanging out with most of your friends, especially if they're the type of people that kind of drag you down. So taking on a path to mastery that you intend to make your full-time career will entail a few lean years. And that basically means you'll need to be frugal with your spending and the time that you spend hanging out and all those kinds of things. You're making the important sacrifices to make your dreams a reality. We all have comforts, and some of us spend a little too much money on things we don't quite need. In order to master something, we need to make time available to us. And that might mean actually working less in order that we have more time for our craft. Now, if your job is just paying the bills enough, like you might want to question what you're spending your money on, reduce your spending in order that you can take less hours of work and spend more time in your craft so you can eventually have that take over as your primary source of income. So in the words of the great Jim Rohn, if you work hard at your job, you'll make a living. If you work hard at yourself, you'll make a fortune. So from now on, when you see someone who's great at something, say they are masterful, not simply talented. So thank you for watching this video. If you have other keys to mastery that I haven't mentioned here, go ahead and leave them in the comments below so people have other resources. Also leave a comment below with what you're trying to master, because having that public accountability actually really helps. As always guys, if you dug this video, go ahead and smash that like button, comment below because it really helps this channel grow, join the tribe, subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next one.